to growth. Success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, you Roach Growth listeners. Today I have Ryan Early. He is the founder of Blue Magic. It helps your plants grow at a better way with no chemicals. Is that like the elevator pitch, or how would you describe it if you're doing infomercial, Ryan?
Yeah, no, you're pretty close. So Blue Magic is a multi-purpose pesticide and fungicide that uses a pheromonal replication technology as its mode of action. So it doesn't kill most bugs. It repels them using their own pheromones that we derive purely from plant-based sources.
Now, is that, so most pesticides, I guess, kill the insects, and that's kind of what separates you guys?
Most pesticides and fungicides are chemical-based, right? Petroleum chemical-based. And their mode of action is to actually kill the insect by way of, whether it's a shutdown of their nervous system, etc. The way that our products work, again, is in a pheromonal replication process that deters pests from being around anything that we want to keep protected. And in turn, it also attracts the beneficial pests, beneficial bugs like praying mantis, ladybugs, naturally to our gardens and flower areas around our homes.
Oh, wow. Do you, let's rewind. Because I'm very intrigued to see how you got here. So a young Ryan, was he into plants? Was he into basically helping animals? Who was young Ryan growing up?
So growing up, I grew up on a small horse ranch just east of Oklahoma City. So always been involved in the farming community, from hay production and baling. I think I started throwing bales on the trailer when I was probably 7 years old. And so, being involved in agriculture, of course, from an early age, kind of gave me a lot of insight into how we wanted to approach taking this technology to market. I was blessed enough to be raised in a natural household. My mom did not take us to the doctor unless we were dying. If there was something we could use naturally, like peppermint oil for headaches, or oregano oil if we get sick, that was our go-to. And if that didn't work, then we go down that next pathway, right, to the medical community. So approaching everything from a natural standpoint has kind of been the pillar to the foundation that we have here, especially for Blue Magic. And with the pesticides, the chemical-based pesticides and fungicides, it's not just the bugs that are seeing damage from that. We see the runoff and the soil contamination from years of repeated spraying on our food crops and hay fields. We also see animals, specifically birds, that are eating those bugs that have been sprayed with caustic chemicals, and it's now causing impacts down the ecological chain at every level, from fish to birds to even the microorganisms that are living in our soil that are no longer able to replicate due to years of caustic chemical application.
Now, I guess growing up being a naturalist, what was the outside perception with schoolmates, and were you guys buying items to take care of your crops, or did you have to make it in-house? What did that kind of look like?
Farmers markets every weekend, right?
Okay.
Trying to buy local vegetables, local produce, buying beef, chicken, pork from local producers and not from Walmart or Costco. Just making sure that we're eating, as American as possible, cutting out as many of the imports as we can. And even when it comes to our vitamins and supplements that we take, most of those are synthetic that are currently on the market. And so trying to find sources for natural supplements that are verified organic and not synthetic has been another mission that we've taken. And I've actually got several of those products that we found over the years that we manufacture under a second company I own named Cantech Labs. colloidal silvers, colloidal coppers, all kinds of good stuff that just generally helps keep us off the pharmaceuticals and out of the doctor's office.
At that time, I guess when you're growing up, the pesticides and items like that you've talked about, where I guess majority of our pesticides kill the insects and have substances that I guess you don't want for your plants. I mean, so were you making something at that time, or were you just using those pesticides that you could find at the store to take care of your plants and garden, grass, things like that?
No, I mean, I've always used lemon and eucalyptus and peppermint as a around the house spider deterrent. And
Okay.
it can be mixed up as an essential oil and sprayed kind of around the house. We've always tried to use, natural methods for the farming, and especially in the garden, like diatomaceous earth, and just good old Dawn dish soap every now and then. But Blue Magic kind of allows us to have a one-stop IPM, integrated pest management program, that allows a natural means of deterrence and is extremely effective as a fungicide. Blue Magic is actually patented as a fungicide first and a pest repellent second. And I'm very excited to, as we come into February and really about mid-March, we'll be releasing our first products for our pet line, which is a safe, all-natural pet collar, a flea and tick shampoo, a waterless shampoo, which actually has a deodorizer to it. And those all contain our technology that help repel fleas, chiggers, and of course, flying insects like mosquitoes and gnats.
Now, where did the idea of being a naturalist and taking care of your plants to the idea of building Blue Magic kind of come from? I mean, taking care of yourself compared to helping other people take care of what they're doing.
Well, so the discovery of Blue Magic's technology is very unique in the sense that I worked with our local state legislators here to author the 2018 Industrial Hemp Pilot Program that allowed companies to partner with universities all over the state and conduct industrial hemp research. My program specifically focused on the genetics that were left behind from the U.S. government back in the late 1930s and early 40s from a Black Ops research program they did, where they brought industrial hemp from all over the world to Oklahoma to see if maybe one of our enemies or allies had a better strain of industrial cannabis for fiber. At that time, most of our ship's ropes, sails, riggings, our flags, and even the sailors' clothings were mostly made from hemp. And that is due to its superior properties over cotton to withstand being wet and dried multiple times. It's much more durable than traditional cotton. And so once they completed that study, they took their findings to Illinois and Kentucky, in which they grew 140,000 acres for 2 consecutive years to provide all of that fiber for our U.S. military and specifically the Navy during World War II. Now, when they left everything they brought here from all over the world behind. And so in 2018, in partnership with Northwestern Oklahoma State University, we went out all across the state to all 77 counties and pulled roughly 114 different genetics with different biochemical makeups, et cetera, from all over the state, feral industrial hemp. And very quickly, I noted that one of the areas, one of the cultivars that we had discovered there was very vibrant, very green, was unaffected by pest or mildew or heat or drought. And this is at the end of summer here in Oklahoma. So everything was very, very desolate, if you will. And for whatever reason, this patch growing on the back of a farmer's field for God knows how long, since the late 30s, was very vibrant. And so when we collected samples, we ran the analytical data on it. It showed that this plant had the ability to produce no THC or CBD, no cannabinoids, period. Only 6 specific sesquiterpenes that make up the same chemical pheromonal complex as most of the pests that would have affected it in its wild state excrete when they die as a warning to warn other bugs. So this plant had been able to evolve and adapt to mimic that specific pheromonal response, and is the basis to the patent behind Blue Magic. We don't use any cannabis in Blue Magic. We're able to recreate that exact profile using 6 other plants from around the world. And so, but the technology did come from an industrial hemp research program. And I believe that there is so much more that will come out of industrial hemp over the next 10, 20, 50 years, as we start to look for renewable energy sources, for renewable building materials, and even textiles.
Well, where did the want to partner up to get into this program? Was the intention to one day build a company? Was the intention to one day basically help more people? I mean, where did the want from this all kind of come from?
So we'll have to back up just a little further. 2014 and 15, I started working with a few parents and my niece here in Oklahoma who suffered from their kiddos suffered from severe forms of epilepsy. And so I began going to Colorado, finding different strains that were not so desirable at that point, because we were looking for the higher CBD, not the THC. And so we were able to get that material and do the extractions here in Oklahoma, very illegal at that time, and make the medicine that was ultimately life-saving for many of these kiddos, who some of them are still with us today, though medicinal journals say they shouldn't be. So that began my process there to start working with local legislators, and begin drafting legislation that would ultimately allow the sale and access to CBD products for severe forms of epilepsy with certain qualifying conditions. And that was what became Katie's Law here in Oklahoma back in 2015. I then opened the first manufacturing facility for CBD products here in Oklahoma shortly after, and still produce for most of our hospitals, pharmacies, and several pain management and healthcare providers, not just across the state, but around the nation. So being able to come at this from a point that at that time, the risk of saving these kiddos' lives was worth my own life being imprisoned. But being able to push forward to develop legislation to educate our lawmakers on why this is viable and why this is vital for some of these kiddos. And that educational process has built several relationships now with other lawmakers around the country. And I come in on a quite frequent basis as an advisor to help them understand the differences in hemp and marijuana, and how regulation would affect that.
At the time that you were, I mean, pushing forward this legislation, right? It probably took a lot of your day, right? So were you, I mean, working the farm still at that time? Did you have a 9-to-5 job, or how were you surviving before you actually jumped fully into this?
So at an early age, I actually, had my first kiddo at 18, my oldest son, who's now 21. I did not finish high school. I got my GED and immediately began working at a local plumbing company. After about 3 years at that company, I got my contractor's license and started my own company at the age of 22. And I specialized, I really did a lot of research in water purification and water treatment. Oklahoma has a lot of areas where the water is very acidic. We have areas high in arsenic, high in chromium, and very hard water in most of the state. And so I found that as a niche that we could be very effective and was not heavily populated by most plumbing companies. And that was turned into a very successful company. I eventually sold that company in 2016 after we passed the legislation and was able to open the facility here in Oklahoma City for manufacturing. So the plumbing company helped pay the bills while we were doing the research.
I mean, and it seems like there's a correlation, I guess, through everything you've done, right? From growing up, being healthy, being one with kind of the earth, nothing like same thing with the plumbing, and then now with basically Blue Magic. I mean, there's a common theme throughout it. And I mean, with the plumbing, was that more of a necessity to build something, or was it more of, I mean, a passion of sorts? Because I mean, it's correlation, but I mean, to give that up, even if it was a passion, that seems like that had to be a very difficult decision for you.
Yeah, I mean it is a passion. I do love the engineering side of the building those, contaminant mitigation systems. I built some very large systems for city municipalities over the years. But honestly, the joy that I get from changing people's lives every day, from getting them off of the pharmaceuticals and off of some of the caustic medications that they're currently on, and it's not just the health products we produce. It's also working with health coaches and nutritionalists all over the country, to help get people I guess a better understanding of why some of the things are available to people here in the U.S. that aren't available to people outside the U.S., like high fructose corn syrup in our sodas, and what the implications would be of an unhealthy population, right, and an increased healthcare system. And I won't get into any too far deep into the conspiracy side, right? But I believe we have been kept sick for many years. I believe that the cannabis plant has been kept from us because it does have healing properties, let alone the renewable energy resources, etc. And so, I think that Americans are on the precipice of change, of awakenment, of our diet and our lifestyle, and things that we either may need to add to our diet or remove from it. And our food and the way that food is produced is a big part of that, right? And it's not just our food, but what we're feeding our food, our animals, right? Our livestock. And so, Blue Magic, I couldn't be more excited to take this technology to market, because I believe there's such a huge demand for products that reduce the amount of phosphate runoff. Blue Magic just finished a recent study with Auburn University. In that study, it showed that we were 200% more effective than the leading natural pest management on the market, and that is neem oil for gardeners that utilize neem. And so, we're able to provide effective, natural, and safe solutions for people, plants, and pets.
What has been the items that you've taken away, I guess the knowledge that you've taken away from building the plumbing company to building Blue Magic, that maybe allowed you to kind of grow faster than you did in the plumbing company? Were there nuggets, kind of lessons that you learned the second,
Oh,
third
for
time?
sure. I think with anyone who is an entrepreneur, especially, I've had many businesses that were successes, and I've had probably more that were not. I think we learn from each venture and each journey, and whether it's one industry or the next, experience is a cruel teacher. First the experience, then the lesson. So I think we all take those experiences with us with each venture, and I think that Blue Magic, I have structured this company appropriately as a C corp. I've brought in the right partners and strategic advisors, etc., to help make sure that we are able to integrate a 100+ year market that has been traditionally controlled by 5 companies: Monsanto, Bayer, Dow Chemical, DuPont, being the big 3. So I'm ready to fight.
What's the lesson? I mean, because you talked about, okay, bringing the partners in, understand your competitors. I mean, what's the lesson for that answer of why you kind of have this, I guess, structure put in place? Is there a lesson that you took away from the other ones that you're talking about?
Well, with this situation specifically, with us coming into an established $300+ billion market share industry, I think it's very important that we have the right financial advisors, strategic advisors, even patent attorneys and firms behind us, to keep those big boys from just coming in and steamrolling me. I'm just a small town Oklahoma boy that is trying to change the world.
When you're with someone that has such passion in being natural, being healthy, right? how often are you, I guess, with bringing your advisors on, making sure that they have the same understanding, I guess, same love that you have, or is it simply, hey, they're good at what they do, I don't care what their true feelings are? Does that make sense?
No, it's got to be a good blend of both, right? They
Okay.
have to be, obviously educated in the agronomic background, but at the same time, they have to have a passion to want to bring a green technology to market. What's neat about Blue Magic is it's actually cheaper per acre to run, at a larger scale than what they're currently utilizing in caustic chemicals. And
Wow.
so we've done very, very good at being able to keep the products affordable, all the while keeping them effective.
Hmm. And you've done, I mean, you've done a lot of studies. You've talked about, I guess, a multitude of studies right there. I mean, is there a constant flow of needing more studies, needing more universities to kind of confirm what you're kind of relaying on platform? Because there's a lot of information out there, right? And I guess you got to make sure that you're actually speaking the truth and not just being a, what is it, a gypsy sailor, or how whatever that word is
Snake
right there.
oil salesman, a snake oil
Stick by
salesman.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Again, Auburn University is one of our research partners. Oklahoma University is one of our research partners. Um, we are now working with the University of Hawaii because they have some unique types of fungus and different types of pathogens over there that we want to see what kind of response we get. And so eventually, yes, I mean, we're talking most likely research trials for the next 10 years on this technology as we begin to roll it out in different areas and sectors of industries.
What's the process? Because I actually I've never had someone that's at least that we talked about on the podcast that have used universities for research. I mean, what's the
Mhm.
process of you going, okay, I have this product, I have this idea. Is it just simply reaching out to the university, or what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, you want to get a little bit of homework done on the departments that you want to reach out to directly, but most of the independent departments at every university are in charge of their own budgets and they're in charge of their own programs. And so most of them are very, I would say, ecstatic to get the call to say, hey, we want to run some trials with you guys because that ultimately means more funding for their program. Um,
A- a- And is it like, do you negotiate a price, or is there usually a set price, or is it, how does that usually work?
Yeah, they usually throw a price at us. Some of them make you want to fall over. I was quoted 250,000 for one study on soybeans
Oh wow.
at a university locally here,
Okay.
and then you turn around to like Auburn University, who actually conducted the first three trials at no charge to us
Oh wow.
because they were fascinated with the technology and wanted to prove efficacy, which we did very, very, very much so. So again, kind of like with anything, we want to work with people that want to work with us and not
Mhm.
just take our money, right?
Yeah. Where do you see, and I know you talked about, and I know we didn't get into the rabbit hole of how maybe someone might be holding back kind of like our health and things like that, but where do you see the natural aspect of it going over the next 5 to 10 years from now?
Well, I will say that natural biologics for agritech in general are the strongest growing sector of any industry. I believe that Forbes projected them uh, at a 300% compounded annual growth rate,
Hmm.
which puts us biologics this year, I believe, we're right at 7 billion in the US, expecting to breach 25 billion by the end of 2024.
And where do you see Blue Magic going? I know you already talked about that you're going to be bringing out a caller, and I mean, it seems like really diversifying Blue. I mean, the platforms. I mean, where do you see it in 5 to 10 years?
My goal is to have it in every major outlet, from Walmart to Bass Pro Shops. We are in the process right now of finalizing the R&D for our DEET replacement,
Hmm.
as we are now showing to be 3 times as effective as DEET for repelling mosquitoes in early trials, which is huge
Yeah.
because now we don't have to utilize caustic chemicals when we're out there. We're also utilizing our technology in a all natural mineral based sunscreen that will be the world's first pest repellent sunscreen. Um, And what's really neat is our technology has almost no smell to humans. It is strictly a bug thing. And so we're not using a bunch of lemon and eucalyptus and, citronella to try to warn off the bugs. It's actually a very natural thing that has almost no fragrance at all.
Wow. Any last words of wisdom? And I appreciate Ryan for being on the platform so much. I mean, any last words of wisdom if someone's listening right now and they're looking to find more information about you or Blue Magic? What's the best way? Any kind of last words?
Yeah, you can follow me at farmerryan.com, and also bluemagicnaturals.com is the website directly for the Blue Magic products. And I would just say that, as we're in the age of awakening, I think it's very important that everyone looks at A, what they're putting on and in their body, B, what they're putting on and in their pets, and C, how we are creating a more sustainable future for generations to come through natural technologies. So do a little research. There's a lot of natural technologies that may not be as marketed heavily as the chemical ones, but they're out there. And again, for plants, people, and pets. So
I'm going to finish off with one last question. And again, there's so much information out there, right? And I think it's fantastic what you guys are doing about all these studies. And is there a platform, or what's the best way of, someone's looking to purchase and they want to say, hey, I want to make sure the item that I'm buying is actually natural. The stuff they're saying is actually real. What's the best way for a consumer out there to actually verify the information?
So, it's kind of crazy because there's not a lot of required information as far as testing, analytics, etc. One thing we pride ourselves on is being transparent and making sure that we are validating and uploading even to our website our product SDS sheets, our safety data sheets that show the ingredients used, where they're sourced from. And that goes for all the products we produce, even the supplements and nutrients that we produce. We want to make sure that we're providing that ethical chain of custody where you can see these are truly made in America and not just made here and sourced from outside the country. So yeah, it's difficult, but we're starting to see change, especially here in Oklahoma. Senate Bill 238 is the truth in labeling law for supplements, for example, and it requires natural or synthetic to be put on the label, country of origin, contents, and a website that enables more information like the SDS sheets and even analytical analysis for certain products.
Do you think that's going to be more of a norm? Like how we have nutrition on all like the things we're eating now. Do you see that's going to be more of a norm like you're talking about across the United States?
100%. I think you're going to start to see natural or synthetic, especially, be put on the label. And there's a lot of groups that are lobbying hard against that for their own reasons. I'm also watching some legislation around the country regarding glyphosate and foods and items that are produced using crops that were treated with glyphosate actually being listed on the label. And so that's something that I'm pushing for here locally in Oklahoma to get those glyphosate warnings on the label.
Well, again, thank you, Ryan, for being here. Definitely, I haven't had someone in your field before on the podcast. And it was, I think, a lot of information. For myself, I'll probably have to listen to the podcast again just to kind of soak in all the information that you were dropped right there. But the one thing that I did take away is that Blue Magic, if I'm trying to protect the insects, I'm trying to protect animals, human nature, right? And make my plants that much stronger, I need to at least give Blue Magic a chance. And if you're listening right now, go into the show notes, go to Blue Magic's website, and follow Ryan. They have a lot of platforms. I bet you in 5 years, they're going to have a lot more platforms that you can purchase through. So thank you again, Ryan, for being here. Everyone, please subscribe, please share, and go in the show notes. Bye, everyone.